So today we're wading into what is, well, arguably the most documented and definitely the most divisive paranormal case in British history.
It really is. We have a mountain of sources here. Police reports, hours of audio, and, case files from psychical researchers.
We are talking about the Enfield Poltergeist.
It's sort of the patient zero for modern ghost stories. If you can strip away the movies and all the tabloid stuff, what you're left with is a very strange set of facts.
And it's all centered on one house, a council house at 284 Green Street in North London.
Exactly. The timeline is tight, too. We're talking 1977 to 1979. A single mom, Peggy Hodgson, and her 4 kids.
But the sources, they really zero in on one of the children, 11-year-old Janet.
Right. She becomes the absolute epicenter of the whole thing. In most of these cases, the activity is subtle.
Like cold spots or just a weird feeling.
Exactly. But in August 1977, the sources describe immediate physical chaos. I mean, we're talking about heavy furniture sliding across the floor.
Loud knocking, things being thrown.
But this is usually where I start to check out. A distressed family, they can imagine things. Do we have anyone outside the family verifying this early on?
And that is the absolute key to this case. They didn't just call a priest. They called the police.
They called the police. And we have an official report from a WPC, a female police constable named Carolyn Heaps.
Okay.
She signed a sworn statement saying she watched a dining chair, a heavy one, slide about 3 to 4 feet across the floor, all on its own.
Nobody touching it.
Nobody touching it. She checked for wires, strings, anything. Found nothing.
Wow. Okay, so having a police officer file a report on moving furniture, that definitely changes things.
And it didn't stop there.
Yeah.
It escalated to something much more disturbing.
The voice.
The voice. This is maybe the most technically baffling part of the whole case. Suddenly, 11-year-old Janet starts speaking.
But it's not her voice.
Not even close. It's a deep, gravelly, elderly male voice. The entity, it called itself Bill Wilkins.
And it said things like, "I'm Bill Wilkins. I used to live here."
Yes, and the really chilling part was when it said, "I died in that chair."
Okay, but did anyone actually fact check that? Because that sounds like something a kid would make up.
They did. The researchers pulled the actual death records for the area.
Yeah.
A man named William Wilkins had lived in that house. And he did, in fact, die of a brain hemorrhage while sitting in his armchair in the living room.
That's a detail the kids just wouldn't know.
Very unlikely. So that brings us to the investigation. The people on the ground.
Right, because if you've seen The Conjuring 2, you'd think Ed and Lorraine Warren solved the whole thing.
That's a massive Hollywood invention. The sources show the Warrens were barely there, maybe for a day, and they weren't even invited.
So who did the real work?
That would be Maurice Grosse and Guy Lyon Playfair from the Society for Psychical Research. They practically lived with the family for 2 years and documented over 1,500 separate incidents.
But you have to wonder, Grosse and Playfair, they weren't exactly unbiased, right? I mean, they were psychical researchers. They wanted to believe.
That's the counter-argument, yes. Yeah. And this is where the whole thing gets incredibly messy.
We have to talk about the confession.
We do. Janet eventually admitted she faked some of the activity.
So, case closed. It was a hoax.
Well, not quite. She was caught on camera bending spoons, staging photos of herself levitating by just, jumping off the bed. For skeptics, that's it. Game over.
It paints the whole thing as just an elaborate prank from a kid wanting attention.
Right. And if she's faking the spoon bending, why shouldn't we assume she's faking the voice too?
Okay, so what's the argument against that?
It's a physiological one. The skeptics claim she was using her false vocal cords to make that deep voice. It's a bit like throat singing. But the medical professionals who looked at the case pointed out a big problem. Using those vocal folds to speak that clearly for hours on end would almost certainly cause severe inflammation, serious damage.
And Janet's throat was fine.
Perfectly fine. She did this for long stretches with no physical damage at all.
That is a very strange biological detail to just ignore.
It is. And Janet later said she only faked things when nothing real was happening because she felt this immense pressure to perform for the investigators.
So they'd have something to write down.
Exactly. And Grosse and Playfair noted that the most violent activity, the stuff that independent witnesses and police saw, often happened when the children were, say, asleep or even physically restrained.
It's just so frustratingly messy. It's not a clean ghost story, but it's not a clean hoax either.
And that's really the big takeaway from this deep dive. The case sits right at the intersection of, true crime, the psychology of a really stressed family, and genuinely unexplained phenomena.
We all want a simple binary answer. Was it real or was it fake?
But Enfield suggests it might have been a kind of feedback loop of both.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with. If a witness admits to faking, say, 5% of the evidence because they're under pressure, does that automatically invalidate the police officers and the other experts who witnessed the other 95%?
Or is it actually possible for a genuine haunting and a hoax to be